Hi there, it's Vanessa from Cove, and you're listening to the 81st edition of The Networker. This week, the content kept circling back to the same uncomfortable idea. Most of us treat relationships as a resource to draw on rather than a practice to maintain. We network when we need something. We reach out when it is urgent. And then we wonder why it feels hollow. The additions I find most worth sharing are the ones that challenge that pattern directly. This is one of them. So let's dive in. We start with Tina Nenshi Gata, writing in Business Insider about what happened after she read Keith Ferrazzi's Never Eat Alone. Gata had moved to the U.S. from India to study, built a career across Citibank, Vanguard, and the World Bank Group, and admitted that her networking instincts had always been calculating. The book changed that. She stopped tracking what she was getting, started showing up on LinkedIn with genuine vulnerability, and grew to 19,000 followers without a single content strategy. What she describes is not a tactic. It is a full reorientation toward generosity as the only form of professional connection that actually compounds. That same question about how to show up comes through differently in Fast Company, where 13 senior leaders weigh in on whether a conference is worth attending when you are not speaking. The consensus is striking. The stage is for broadcasting, and the floor is for everything that actually matters. One leader put it plainly: a speaker's schedule is a constraint, not an advantage. The real ROI lives in the hallway conversation, the private dinner, and the 10-minute exchange you didn't plan for. If you only go to conferences where you are on stage, you are optimizing for your profile, not your perspective. A more physiological lens on this comes from psychologist Mark Travers, writing in Forbes about 3 body language signals that determine whether people see you as trustworthy before you say anything. Keep your hands visible. Slow your movement down by about 20% in high-stakes moments. Orient your whole body toward the person you are speaking with, not just your eyes. None of this is complicated. All of it operates below the threshold of conscious awareness. The people who build trust quickly have usually figured this out, even if they could not explain why. Media Bistro takes a more practical angle, breaking down networking as a 3-stage preparation problem. Lay your digital groundwork first, then research the landscape and the specific people you want to reach. Then have the conversation and follow up the same day. The point that landed for me is this: most networking anxiety is not social anxiety. It is the anxiety of being underprepared. Fix the preparation, and the conversation takes care of itself. That preparation argument becomes more urgent when you look at a new study covered by staffing industry analysts. The research, conducted across more than 2,000 hiring managers and job seekers, found that 79% of hiring managers now describe networking as primarily transactional. Online platforms have made it worse, and yet 92% of those same hiring managers say networking is still essential to getting in the door. Everyone agrees the model is broken. Almost no one is behaving differently. The gap between how we network and how we wish we networked has never been wider. Forbes' CEO newsletter brings this into sharp relief with a piece on entrepreneurship in a disrupted economy. 2 founders with decades of combined experience say the same thing. The hardest part of building a company is not the idea or the capital. It's the people. Co-founders, early customers, investors, and mentors either multiply your trajectory or quietly undermine it. One of them noted that these foundational relationships echo throughout the life of the company. Get them right, and you are building on solid ground. Get any one of them wrong, and the structure may not hold. We close the articles with a piece from the Cove blog that deserves more attention than it will probably get. Researchers from Emory, McGill, Columbia, and Universidad Mayor analyzed data from 64,324 adults across 29 countries and found that loneliness is not evenly distributed. Greece and Cyprus score nearly 4 times higher than Denmark. In the U.S., middle-aged adults are lonelier than the elderly. The finding the researchers keep returning to is this: loneliness is not an inevitable consequence of aging or circumstance. It is shaped by the social environments people build or fail to build around themselves. Connection does not maintain itself. The people who avoid becoming a statistic are the ones who treat their relationships as something to tend, not something that just happens. Before we wrap up, let's turn to this week's recommendations. Our book of the week is Quiet by Susan Cain. First published in 2012 and still one of the most cited books in conversations about how we work and connect, Quiet argues that modern culture has built itself around an extrovert ideal that systematically devalues the people who think before they speak, recharge in solitude, and lead with depth rather than volume. Kane is not writing a self help manual. She is making a structural argument about a design flaw in how organizations and social environments are built. If you have ever felt pressure to perform extroversion, this book will give language to something you have probably felt for a long time. And our podcast of the week is The Ambitious Introvert with Emma Louise Parks, specifically episode 190 on going from good to great to exceptional. Parks works with people who are not struggling but striving. In this solo episode, she draws a clean line between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and makes the case that the move from good to exceptional requires knowing which one is actually driving you. Growth pursued for the joy of it looks and feels completely different from growth pursued to prove something. It's a short episode, and it earns its runtime. That's all for the 81st edition of The Networker. The thread running through everything this week is the same one it usually is, even when the topics seem different. Relationships are not a network to build once and draw on forever. They are a practice, one that requires showing up before you need something, tending connections before they atrophy, and approaching other people with genuine curiosity rather than a transaction in mind. The research on loneliness says it plainly. The structural risk is real, and the antidote is not passive. Until next time, stay connected, stay deliberate, and remember, your network is not defined by how many people you reach. It is defined by how intentionally you build. And don't forget, the full edition of The Networker is waiting for you in your inbox. I'll see you next time.